Hi everyone, it's Sunflower Spirit here, and I'm here to do another pick a card reading. And today's reading is going to be on what lessons are you working through in life right now? What lessons are you working through? So we have pile 1 Tiger, pile 2 Chameleon, and pile 3 Taste. So go ahead and pick your pile, and we will get started here. We're looking at what lessons are you currently working through? So this is for those of you who chose pile 1 Tiger. We're looking at lessons that you're currently working through. So it says charming and well-liked, dominant and competitive, born leaders, boastful and arrogant. So what I'm kind of getting right off the bat is kind of like keeping that ego in check. Kind of like what you're working through is like not the lessons, sorry. The things that you're doing, like why are you doing them? Are you doing them for the right reasons? Are you doing them to feed your ego? Or are you doing them for other reasons? Like are you doing them to be powerful or to have power over people? To be like prideful and arrogant like it says on the card? Or are you doing them because you actually are interested in like going somewhere, you know? So let's see what else we have for pile 1. See what else comes out for pile 1. We have Knight of Swords, we have Queen of Pentacles, we have Nine of Cups, and what else do we have for pile 1? We have Justice, whoa, I just had 3 come out. We have Knight of Pentacles, the Hanged Man, and the Lovers. We have Strength. Wow, a lot of majors, pile 1. And we have 4 of Swords. And then on the back of the deck we have the Page of Cups. So what lessons are you dealing with in life right now? What lessons are you like overcoming or trying to learn in life right now? So there's a lesson about like making good decisions in your connections. Also something about your perseverance, your vulnerability, balancing yourself out, like balancing your ego with your, you know, loving self, your spiritual self, your higher self. You're also learning how to like be uncomfortable in that space between the opposing forces, between the dualism of the 3D world. You're also learning about like, I feel like if you chose this pile, you have a tendency to kind of like blurt things out or say things sometimes that you don't mean. So kind of learning how to be like more ethical with that speech, not just blurt things out. I feel like you find it very liberating, but I think that's your ego. So kind of learning how to keep that ego in check with yeah, with your communication, or even just with your thoughts that you have. You're also learning about like your stability as far as like I feel like you kind of have this drive where you want things to go faster than they do sometimes. And so you're learning how to kind of like have this patience with it. And learning kind of like how to balance like what you want out with what you need. Um, Learning how to kind of like be at peace with your emotions, like just allow your emotions to flow and not try to like control them. Um, yeah, with the strength card here, it's kind of similar to what this tiger card is saying. Like, strength is about kind of like balancing that like inner monster, that inner demon, that inner, what, like trying to temper that sort of like beast within you. Um, and there's sort of like a push pull energy here too, where like I feel like you struggle when things go slower, but they're saying sometimes they need to go slower, and sometimes, you get the best results when you are willing to be patient and you are willing to temper yourself with those energies. Um, I also see being fair in your connections, like not trying to have like a power struggle with your connections with other people, being ethical with your connections with other people, um, being truthful and honest both to yourself and to others. And not just like charging forward. I see like also this need for you to kind of like balance yourself with this kind of like resting and waiting, but not thinking that you're not getting what you want just because you're waiting on something. Let's see what the Hero's Journey Tarot says. What is the lesson that pile one is dealing with? We have Ocean of Emotion. Find a safe place to express your true feelings. So maybe it's like about discernment too, like having discernment about, who you have all these thoughts, you have all these fast moving thoughts, um, and you kind of like maybe sometimes remember how I was saying blurt things out, like having sort of that discernment. I see flip it upside down, question your beliefs. So maybe willing to be wrong, because arrogance is all about like needing to be right all the time. Not just needing to be right, but trying to manipulate the situation so that you can, prove that you are right. And they're saying you don't need to do that. Um, I also I have Libra here. I have Gemini here. I have Leo. I have Pisces here. I mean, I have like every sign here. But so yeah, allowing your emotions to flow too, I feel like being okay with your emotions, having that discernment to know when to speak on those emotions and when to kind of pull back, knowing how to like plan it out, planning out your conversations or the things that you think or say to others, like taking a pause before you do so that you can get the results that you want. Um, yeah. Yeah, so that's what I have for you guys if you chose pile one. So I hope that was helpful. I hope it resonated. If it didn't, you can feel free to check out another pile or another video. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Hi, Pile 2. This is for those of you who chose the Chameleon pile or Pile 2, and we're looking at what lessons you're dealing with right now in life. So it says blends in easily, incognito and camouflage, empathetic nature, absorbs environmental energy. So I feel like a lesson you're really learning is kind of how to uh, not just absorb all the energy around you, to have those boundaries with people, and not just boundaries that you actually like tell people about, just boundaries for yourself, like how to kind of not get sucked into other people's chaos. um, I feel like that's kind of what you're dealing with, pile 2, but let's pull some tarot and see if there's anything else that comes out here for the lessons that you're working on in life right now, the lessons that you're learning. Whoops. Whoa. Okay, so we have Judgment, the Three of Swords. Whoa. We have the Devil, the Two of Swords, the King of Pentacles, the Page of Swords, the World, the Page of Cups, the Hierophant, and we have the Five of Wands. So pile 2, I feel like you are learning how to, you know, I'm getting similar energies from what this said about absorbing environmental energy. So I feel like if you chose this pile, you could be like an empath or somebody who's, you know, really good at picking up on those subtleties, a highly sensitive person perhaps. You're really good at picking up on those subtleties of, you know, how other people are feeling. Even if they don't express it in so many words, you can kind of, I feel like, you know, every single person is kind of wandering around with this sort of like bubble around them. And this bubble around them is like the energy that they're projecting outside of themselves. And I feel like you're a person who kind of bumps into people's bubbles, and then you get confused about, and you start taking on other people's stuff. So what your lesson is to kind of learn that discernment. You need to learn the discernment of um, how to kind of like acknowledge whose energy is whose. And the reason you need to do this is because this will be a powerful tool in your healing process when you're able to decipher, you know, if it's somebody else's energy or yours. Then you have the power, you kind of empower yourself to be able to heal what needs to be healed within yourself. And so this is like a huge lesson you're working on. I feel like you're nearing the completion of this lesson. Like you're just almost there. You're just almost there. I feel like maybe sometimes too you have a tendency to get stuck with it, just because it gets so exhausting and overwhelming trying to pick out, like, is this their energy? Is this my energy? Like, whose energy is this? And so you're trying to figure out how you can, you know, move forward and complete this cycle, because we have the Judgment to the World here. And I feel like the only thing that comes between the Judgment and the World, you'll see it's 20 and then 21, and 21 is the final major arcana in the tarot. So what's coming between it is this like getting stuck in your head, not making the decision that you need to make, because Judgment's also going to be a decision. you've heard me talk about this before. The judgment is kind of like, do you want to do things in the past, how you've always done, or do you want to do them differently? And if you chose this pile, I see you looking to do things differently. You don't want to get caught up in other people's energy. You don't want to take on other people's energy. The Five of Wands here, this is chaotic energy surrounding you. And so it can get very overwhelming. It can kind of like deplete your energy. Um, and so I feel like this has to deal with a childhood wound, childhood trauma. Perhaps like it was expected of you since you were a tiny person, to be like the energy diffuser, or somebody who could, your family or your parents, your caregivers relied on you to diffuse what they'd projected out. And so now you're kind of having to like unlearn those habits, which is really hard. Yeah, like with the devil, you have to there's something you need to release yourself from, some sort of like toxic bond. Which has to deal with like codependency, right? Because when we're picking up other people's emotions and we're picking up other people's energy, and then we're feeling like we have to do that so that we'll be okay, that's called codependency. So, and that's what I'm getting with the devil card here. So this is a trauma response with the Three of Swords, the Page of Swords, and the Page of Cups. This is definitely a trauma response, something learned from a very young age. And you're wanting this stability with this King of Pentacles. You're like, how can I like feel more stable in this physical world? And so that's why you're kind of like reevaluating, like, what do I need to do differently? Huge lesson here. Page of Swords to the Hierophant. Huge lesson. You're trying to learn and do your research, figure out how to do this, because it can be, like I said, it can be really draining to always be taking on others' energy. So you kind of need to figure out how to have that discernment with this sword up here. It's having the discernment of, learning about yourself enough that you know what's yours and you know what's other people's. So when you recognize it as someone else's, you can just let it be and leave it there. You don't have to grab it. You don't have to take it on. I'm thinking of something that Brene Brown says. I can't remember exactly what she says, but she says something like, you don't have to take on other people's shit. You just step over it and walk over it and continue on your path. That's not exactly what she says, but that's kind of like what the idea is here. So I feel like that's what you're kind of learning. This is a huge lesson. We have Big Five. Hierophant is Major Arcana 5, which is about struggle, change, transformation. So yeah, this is something that you're really trying to transform within yourself. You're trying not to be this chameleon and take on everybody else's colors. You're trying to figure out like how you can be you and not have to worry about what everybody else is doing. So this is beautiful energy. Let's see. I'm gonna pull a hero's journey, and we'll see if anything else comes out. But that's the lesson that you're learning, is how to be like, secure within yourself, stable, in the physical world without like going to that ego place, without going to that sort of like codependent place. What else do we have for pile 2, please? We have build in breaks, saunter slowly. So this is about listening to your intuition, about getting your basic needs met. Yeah, like what I was saying, like, who are you? What do you need? Kind of like tapping more into like your needs instead of everybody else's needs. Because when you tap into everybody else's needs, you're in this codependent energy, which isn't healthy energy. And I know that's hard to hear, probably because our society, we have a lot of these we've trained a lot of individuals very well collectively to take on other people's energy and to diffuse other people's energy, because we don't know as a collective how to deal with our own stuff. We don't know how to deal with our own emotions and everything. The return, yeah, own your mastery. Yes, exactly. So they're saying like, you have these gifts and you need to use them for yourself now. You need to go have this discernment with your intuition and higher self, and you need to really rely on your ability to kind of like master all these things, because the thin veil, yeah, because it is a thin veil between, like an ego codependency response, devil response, toxic response, and a loving, more spiritually connected response. And so I do see you're almost nearing the end of this cycle with this world card here. You're liberating yourself. You're going to be liberating yourself very soon. So I hope that was helpful for you, Pile 2. I hope that resonated. If it didn't, you can feel free to check out another pile or check out another video. I appreciate you guys stopping by today. This is for those of you who chose pile 3. We're looking at the lessons that you're working on right now. You chose taste. It says sweet and sour, appetite and hunger, cravings and urges over indulgences. So I feel like if you chose this pile, a lesson that you're learning in your life is not to overindulge yourself, to kind of like find that balance of getting your needs met, but not like overdoing it to the point where it's becoming like a toxic behavior, like a vice or an addiction or something like that. And this doesn't, I know it says taste and there's like some delicious looking chocolate on here, but this could be anything. It doesn't have to be about food. I mean, that it definitely could be, but there's so many ways you can overindulge yourself. Like you could spend too much money, eat too much sugar, drink too much, smoking, lots of different things. So let's see what the tarot says. Let's see what else we have with the tarot here. We have the Three of Wands. We have the Page of Pentacles. We have the Six of Pentacles. We have the Page of Swords. The last pile got the Page of Swords too. We have the Moon. We have the Hierophant. The last pile got the Hierophant too. We have the Queen of Pentacles. We have Judgment. Wow, the last pile got the Judgment too. So if you were trying to decide between pile 2 and 3, you might want to watch both. Oh, that was like way too many cards. There was like 4 cards. Okay, and then we have the Star. Alright. And then on the back we have the Knight of Pentacles. Alright, so what lessons are you working on in life right now, pile 3? You're working on listening to your intuition for healing. Specifically healing maybe some patterns from the past. Yeah, you're working on like listening to your intuition. And with this overindulgence here, it could be listening to your intuition as far as like maybe there's something from the past that you feel connected to, that you feel tied to, that might be a little bit more toxic and or a little bit more like obsessive maybe, and but it sucks your joy. And so you're trying to figure out how you can have more joy. I also feel like if you chose this pile, you have a tendency to kind of go to that magical thinking place, that like illusion place where you are kind of like fantasizing a lot, which can be a trauma response. It's called dissociation, and that is a trauma response. And I feel like, it's just a coping strategy is basically what it is, because when your life gets so overwhelming and it starts to kind of resemble some of those traumas that you've had, um, the dissociation, the magical thinking, the, going to like this fantasy world is a way to kind of like cope with the reality of that. And I see kind of a little bit of that doing that. I do see some trauma here, inner child wounds, specifically your inner child wounds dealing with um, your clarity with your intuition. So again, like trying to really focus on your intuition, tap into that, not like overindulge yourself. Um, yeah, try to kind of like balance yourself out. And I also get a sense of like needing to have a little bit of patience with yourself throughout the process. I feel like you are working on healing, you have been working on healing, but this is a big lesson for you. There's something about overindulging in relationships too. So I don't know if you have like a I'm getting I'm getting a tendency maybe for like some promiscuity, or like just not really having good discernment as far as like your sexual relationships or something like that. I also am getting like, yeah, like you're trying to heal, but you're kind of like still stuck in the same patterns, so needing to kind of have the patience with yourself and not go to this like magical thinking. I feel like sometimes in your connections with other people you feel let down because you kind of like idealize connections with others. Um and so needing to kind of really figure out where that reciprocation is. Like, are you getting your needs met the same way other people are, and vice versa in your connections? So kind of needing to like try to decide where your loyalties are, and try to plan according to your where your loyalties are, using your intuition to plan. Um, Recognizing your ability to create. But yeah, I do feel like if you chose this pile, you have a tendency to kind of go to that like magical thinking. I think that's where you're overindulging. It's with your connections, specifically with idealizing connections, and also maybe some like um, you know, sexual relationships, something like that, where you kind of have to figure out where your values are as far as like the give and take of your connections. And I do see like healing happening, and healing is possible, but it's kind of like rising above some of these emotions sometimes. I feel like sometimes you might have a tendency to, it's like very black and white almost. So kind of like you either like totally idealize it, or you're totally like depressed or down, something like that. And so needing to kind of like balance that energy out within yourself. Let's take a hero's journey card. Let's see what else we have. Yeah, allowing time for the process, allowing your intentions to go a little bit slower than what you might want them to. Um, yeah. And being willing to learn about yourself and about the process. Let's see what else we have here. Whoa. Stand up and be recognized. Behold, you are the inspiration you've been looking for. So this is a kind of about like your self-confidence, recognizing your stability, kind of on your own. We also had another one come out. How much good can you handle? Explore the upward spiral of grace. So, let's see. So yeah, I do see like a trauma response here. So they're saying like, when you're overindulging, it seems like a good thing at the time, but it's sort of like I was saying, it's like that black and white. So kind of needing to like pull that back down a little bit. Um, and recognize who you are and what you deserve. Recognize like how maybe some of these patterns that you have with these things that haven't been working, like your connections with other people, um, and doing, having this like idealization, how that hasn't really been working for you, and trying to really like balance that energy out here. Um, on the back, there's no place like home, nestle into sweetness. So they're saying that you like know how to do it. It's sort of just like that piece of yourself where you've kind of like forgotten, that spiritual part where like you know this to your core. It's just that you're kind of in these habits, in these patterns right now, that aren't serving you. Yeah. Um, they're saying that you are near a completion with this. That you are coming near a completion to this. I have Cancer, Taurus, Scorpio, uh, Aries, and Aquarius here. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Hopefully it resonated, but if not, you can feel free to check out another pile or another video. I appreciate you guys stopping by today.